Russian response. We saw yesterday that a residential area of the city of Zaporizhia, a major city in the south of the country, very close to the front lines, was hit. More than a dozen. So,
Kyiv, the beginning of the Russian full-scale invasion. In the background, you can see St. Michael's Golden Dome Monastery. It was destroyed by the Soviets and later rebuilt in independent Ukraine. There are many misconceptions about the state of Christianity in Ukraine. So, what's really going on? My name's Stephen Moore. I'm the founder of the Ukraine Freedom Project. I came to Ukraine on day 5 of the war because I saw all sorts of terrible things happening here, and I just wanted to help. So when I got to Kyiv, it was surrounded on 3 sides by Russians. We took medicine to the front. We did a lot of good things in that first year. But at some point I recognized that I was one of the few people in the world that had been to the Ukrainian front and to the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. I worked in Congress for 7 years. So what we've been doing for the last couple of years is getting information from soldiers and ordinary Ukrainians and people at the front and bringing that information back to policymakers in D.C. so we can help them make good decisions about what to do with Ukraine. One of the things that I saw in late 2022 was that Tucker Carlson and some other folks, some other conservative influencers in Washington, D.C., were saying that the Zelensky administration was persecuting Ukrainian Christians.
Zelensky's secret police have raided monasteries across Ukraine, even a convent full of nuns, and arrested dozens of priests.
I live here. I mean, I didn't see that. So Tucker Carlson is someone that I knew back in the day. We worked together on a project about 10 or 12 years ago, and I thought he was a great guy. And Tucker Carlson says a lot of things that need to be said, but on Ukraine, he's got it completely wrong. So we're here to talk to some folks in Ukraine about Christianity in Ukraine, about what's really happening here. Because what I've seen is that the Russians are torturing and murdering, oppressing and taking to prison Ukrainian evangelical Christians who are trying to practice their faith. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to some folks in Ukraine about religion in Ukraine, about Christianity in Ukraine, about some of the things that Ukrainian Christians are going through.
Watching the Ukraine hawks quietly, delicately...
In the United States, some public figures, and even a presidential candidate, have claimed that Christians are under attack in Ukraine.
Actually quietly coming around to being more cautious as they should. Do you want to use U.S. taxpayer money to fund the banning of Christians? That is actually what's happening. They're using the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They have banned them. The Ukrainian parliament just did this last week.
Let's find out if those messages are truthful. Helping us with this is Vladislav Haverilov, a researcher at Georgetown University, a historian, and a Christian. We met with Vladislav near St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv, built in the 11th century, long before Moscow even existed. Today, more than 80% of Ukrainians are Christians, making it one of the biggest Christian countries in Europe. Now, Ukrainians are fighting for their nationhood and religious freedom, moving away from churches tied to Moscow after centuries of Russian domination. Some churches claim they've broken ties with Russia since the invasion, but many Ukrainians, including Vladislav, remain skeptical. Recently, the Ukrainian parliament passed a law that required the Ukrainian Orthodox Church to separate itself on an individual basis from Moscow. Tell me about that.
The technical issue is that many monasteries, cathedrals, and dioceses are separate legal entities. Each of them must submit a set of documents proving that they no longer have any affiliation with the Moscow Patriarchate. If they can do that, they will be able to operate as a religious community in Ukraine because they will have demonstrated that they are not Russian collaborators and have no ties to Moscow. If they cannot prove this, and if the problem lies, for example, in the fact that the Ukrainian Orthodox Church as a whole still hasn't severed its ties with the Moscow Patriarchate, then they will be urged to join the independent Orthodox Church of Ukraine, since the Orthodox Church of Ukraine has no connection to Moscow. At this point, that is likely the only viable path to resolving the issue surrounding the Ukrainian Orthodox Church in Ukraine.
Vladislav's life has been connected to the church and Christian values since childhood. He joined his local parish at the age of 10 and even began studying to become a priest before choosing a career in history. During the full-scale war, Vladislav has been deeply involved in investigating and analyzing Russia's policies of abducting Ukrainian children and brainwashing them into becoming Russians. I've heard that the Ukrainian government has identified 20,000 children that have been taken to Russia. Is that right?
Yes, but it's, only identified children. But we could say about more children who are stolen by Russian in occupied territories of Ukraine. Come Russian government, Russian soldiers, they try to stole, try to remove into Russia children, and especially children without parents. We could talking about 100,000 of children.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they kill the parents in the war and take the children back to Russia.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Why would they do that?
Because they try to re-educate these children. It's a government policy of Russia. We know several facts about this. What I'm talking about. For example, they created paramilitary groups, paramilitary organization. I know about three main organizations. It's Young Army, Eagles of Russia, and Russian Guard. For example, Young Army, created by Minister of Defense of Russia, Sergei Shoigu, in 2016. And after that, before full-scale invasion, they tried to take in children from occupied territory of Donetsk and Luhansk region. And removed them, for example, to Rostov and Voronezh region of Russia, and tried to re-educate them. They must to teach Russian history, must to teach Russian language, Russian ideology, and what's so dangerous that it's considered with teenagers, especially boys from 14, 16, 17 years old. And they have a lot of military lessons, with weapons, with grenade, because after that they try to join these children when they have already 18 years old to Russian army. And we know these facts after a full-scale invasion, that some of these children, for a pity for us, but joined to Russian army.
Doesn't Russia have enough children?
Russia have enough children, but they try to create a problem between Ukrainian society, between, for example, occupied territories and non-occupied territories. And for example, after we could free these territories, for example, we have this problem. Because we have children who, for example, maybe in some cases don't want to be with Ukraine. And it's very dangerous, Because, for example, imagine we could free Donetsk, We free Donetsk, and we have teenagers who are growing up in Russian, pro-Russian schools.
For 10 years.
Yes, for 10 years. And it could be very difficult to speak with them, But we must do that, but it could be very difficult. And that's why they do that,
To understand how Russian propaganda is spreading through the church, I reached out to Maxim Ostapenko. former director of the Kyiv-Pechorsk Lavra National Reserve, one of the oldest landmarks of Ukrainian Orthodox Christianity. Until 2023, this holy site served as the headquarters of the Orthodox Church under the Moscow Patriarchate, meaning it was directly connected to Russia. It was a legacy of Russian imperialism when main institutions were forcibly subjugated to Moscow. When Ukraine passed a law banning churches from being connected to Russia, the clergy at the Kyiv-Pechorsk Lavra lied about halting those connections. So, what is the importance of this place to the war effort in Ukraine?
In the context of the Ukrainian-Russian war, this place holds special significance because it played a very important role in shaping both Ukrainian and Russian identities.
So this is philosophically the heart of Putin's reason for the war.
This isn't just a philosophy behind Putin's war. They officially declared it one of the objectives of the so-called special operation, the return of religious shrines located in Ukraine.
I'm fascinated by the degree to which the Russians consider this a holy war.
That's absolutely true. For them, this is a sacred war because one of Putin's key goals, which he has stated repeatedly, is the revival of the Russian Empire. And without the place where Kiev and Rus was baptized, that goal is impossible.
He's telling Americans that it's a problem with NATO. He's telling Americans that he's liberating the Russian-speaking people. But really, what he wants is to take places like this.
Yes, in fact, to rebuild the empire and to keep brainwashing his population, he needs sacred symbols. And this war, beyond its military dimension, also has a very powerful symbolic and informational layer. That's something that we must always keep in mind when we talk about Ukrainian religious sites.
So do you think we could end the war quickly if we just gave Putin the Lavra? Do you think he'd stop fighting in Zaporizhia if we gave him the Lavra, let him visit any time?
This definitely won't stop the war. It will only fuel it, because each small gain gives Putin something to boost the country's morale. With every bit of territory he seizes, he feels stronger and more empowered.
How important is the Lavra to the Ukrainian people?
The Lavra was the place that spread Christianity across territories of present-day Russia and Ukraine. And it played a key role in shaping Ukraine into a fully fledged Christian nation with a rich and deeply rooted history.
So Christianity is at the heart of the founding of Ukraine.
Yes, like most other countries, Ukraine emerged during the Middle Ages, largely thanks to the Christianization. It was through Christianity becoming the dominant religion that various tribes were able to unite. And the monks of the Lavra played a key role in making that possible.
Well, when this was controlled by the Russian Orthodox Church, what was happening here? How did it impact the war effort?
I would like to go back to the start of the war, and not 2022, but 2014. How did it all begin? In many ways, it's connected to Lavra. At the turn of 2013-14, Russian Orthodox oligarch Malafeyev brought an exhibition to the Lavra, and with it came a large group of people. And heading that group was a man who would later become known as global terrorist, and his name is Girkin. He led the security detail for that exhibition at Kyiv-Pechorsk Lavra. Back then, in 2014, pro-Russian forces were already using the Lavra as the key stronghold in their effort to take control of Ukraine.
Wow.
Despite the fact that the war has been ongoing for 10 years, the Ukrainian state showed maximum tolerance towards the Russian church. But the events of 2022 and the way many leaders of the Russian church behaved became a turning point. That's when the Ukrainian state began cutting all ties with the Moscow Patriarchate, including ending its presence here at the Lavra.
So this is kind of mind-blowing for me. And maybe you can tell us a bit more about the relationship between the Lavra, the Russian Orthodox Church, and a terrorist who shot down an airliner in 2014. Tell us more about that.
Russian terrorist Girkin, who shot down the Malaysian Boeing over Donbass, gave many interviews over the years. In one of them, he said that the core of his combat units was made up of people who had received support and spiritual guidance from monks and hieromonks. That's why for the Russian terrorist machine, and for those leading it, the backing of missions like the Lavra played an extremely important role. This is the 2023 Orthodox calendar, the Diocesan Department for Cooperation with the Armed Forces, and Russian phone numbers.
It's military service of Russia.
Yeah.
In this calendar, put out by the Ukrainian Orthodox Church associated with Moscow, they're giving the number. What is this again?
It's Department of Cooperation with Armed Forces of Russian Federation.
Wow. The people attacking Ukraine, their number is in this calendar put out by the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. That's just mind-blowing. And there's no mention anywhere in this of the war, that it's been going on for how long at this point?
It's September 2022.
They're not just avoiding any mention of the war. In some cases, they're outright repeating talking points straight from Russian propaganda. Here, for example, is how they refer to Bucha, where local residents who died during the fighting in the town of Bucha are buried.
So this is nothing about the Russians killing the people in Bucha. Wow. The war's been going on for 6 months. There's no mention of the war, but there's numbers to the Russian military. Many Russian numbers in here. And this is 3 months after they claimed to have separated themselves from the Russian Orthodox Church. It seems to me that this idea that the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarch is separating from the Russian Orthodox Church is just a Facebook post. That's what it was. In May of 2022, they put up a Facebook post, and that's the extent of it, because they're still communicating with these people and working with these people on a daily basis.
They didn't just communicate this, they distributed it in the thousands. The print run was 8,000 copies.
When Ukraine's security services searched the Lavra, they found materials that deny the existence of the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian language, and culture, and cast doubt on Ukraine's sovereignty. In essence, it was like a Russian propaganda headquarters in the heart of Ukraine's capital. Ukrainian communities, especially since the start of the full-scale invasion, are voluntarily transitioning from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church under Moscow influence to the independent Orthodox Church of Ukraine. Currently, more than 1,600 communities have changed their patriarchate. According to a survey by the Ukraine Freedom Project, they did this because they saw that the clergy were acting in the interest of Russia. So it's not about banning the church, but about protecting the state and its believers. The Catholic and Protestant branches of Christianity are associated in Russia with the Western world. Russian ideologists such as Alexander Dugin, Valentin Kastasinov, and even Putin promote the idea of a satanic, morally degenerate West, which can be only opposed by a pure, morally elevated Russia. So what's really behind Russia's phrase, defending traditional values? Let's break it down step by step. Victor!
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, my
again.
friend. Good. Helping me with this is Victor Yelinsky, the head of the State Service for Ethnopolitics and Freedom of Conscience. There's propaganda from the Russians in America about Ukraine being Satanists. Have you heard this?
Yes, of course. I heard this. Russian propaganda is much ugly and disgusting compared even to Goebbels. This is the first. Secondly, Russian propaganda is very technological. And Russians propagandists understand that faith, religion, religious freedom are the pillars of American identity. That is why they try to portray Ukrainians as sinners, as a godless nation, and so on and so forth. But number or proportion of Ukrainians, churchgoers, compared to Russians are incomparable.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. When Putin and Patriarch Kirill promote the chauvinistic idea of Russian world, they stressed that Russia is holy. In the same time, Russia is the top of world indexes of crime. Russia is in the top of world indexes of abandoned child, of suicide. Russia is the bottom of index of philanthropy.
Okay.
So if we try to compare, for example.
Well, and just to add to that, I've been told that Russia has a very high rate of abortion. Is that true?
Yeah, abortion also on the top. And Russia likes to compare itself with the Netherlands for some reason. They portrayed Netherlands as a nestle of all wrong things. But in the Netherlands, it's an incomparable rate of abortion, of abandoned child, of crime, and church going in the Netherlands much higher.
Interesting.
Compared to Russia. Despite Netherlands itself as a secular country, not holy.
Yeah.
Not Holy Holland,
Yeah.
let's say.
Yeah. Wow. So Russia under Putin is not a Christian country as you and I might think of it.
It's not Christianity. It's jihadism. It's something. It's paganism. It's military chauvinistic cult of war. It's not. It's more closer to fascism than to Christianity. If you follow Patriarch Kirill sermons, it's not about salvation. It's not about Jesus Christ. It's about Russian glorious history. It's about hatred to Ukraine, hatred to West. His first sermon after the Russian invasion was that why we invaded Ukraine? Because Ukraine tolerates gay parades. This is a great excuse about invasion, and it's nothing about Christianity. Very rarely he turned himself to Bible.
Yeah.
Just to Russian history, to Russian glorious past and glorious future, just about our enemy, just about West, which is greatest sinner, and all this stuff. Not about Christ, not about even God, not about Bible, not about gospel, just about how to invade West.
Yeah. Wow.
It was ruined during the Soviet time.
Yeah.
In 1930s by Bolsheviks and restored or founded from the stretch in 1999.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful. I'm glad you saved it from the Bolsheviks.
During the Soviet time, only one small church existed
Wow.
in this place.
Wow.
And it was a sort of park.
Wow. Okay. Well, you've done a lot of beautiful things.
In all Kiev, there were 8 Orthodox church and cathedrals.
Wow.
Only.
Wow.
For 2 million people.
So the people from Moscow have been shutting down faith in Ukraine for a long time.
Actually, it was Soviet politics.
Yeah.
To suppress religion.
Yeah.
Because Lenin and then Stalin promised to create new religion, a new human being, Soviet human being, and it was entire policy of Soviet ideology and Soviet media to create a new person, person without God.
Okay.
And that is why in 1980s, President Reagan had reason to say that this country is nor a religion, nor faith in God, and probably it's empire of evil. And when he first met Gorbachev, and Reagan repeatedly asked Gorbachev, "Do you believe in God?"
Yeah.
And Gorbachev replied, "I believe in human beings first. Second, he said, God is very close to our topic because we speak about heaven and about missiles, but it's not the same. And third time, he was so insisted, Reagan, that Gorbachev reluctantly said, I was baptized.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Huh. In 1918, Soviet authorities staged a bizarre anti-religious spectacle, a public trial against God. The mock tribunal in Moscow followed formal procedures with judges, prosecutors, defense lawyers, and even a Bible in the courtroom. After 5 hours of debate, the court declared God guilty of crimes against humanity. His sentence? Death. The next morning, a firing squad carried out the verdict by shooting into the sky. My friend Colby Barrett is the producer of another movie on this topic, but my friend Colby Barrett says that this reminds him of the first century, of Christians living under persecution. Tell me some more things that Russia has done in Ukraine to destroy religious freedom.
Russians killed more than 40 pastors, priests, rabbis, destroyed 630 religious buildings, damaged or absolutely destroyed. They closed dozens or hundreds of evangelicals' prayer buildings, and some of them turned to military barracks or to gym, like in Makeivka. There is a brilliant film of Simon Ostrovsky, how they try to expel Mormons from Donbass, evangelicals, Pentecostals, all these people, Catholics also.
Вера одна, она православная. Я православный человек, и она была не зря оставлена нашими предками нам. И баптисты это раскольники. Ну, то есть это американская пропаганда.
Why Russia tried to punish, let's say, Ukraine? Because Ukraine wants to be part of the civilized world, of the West, of the world where a rule of law exists, and when democracy and, most of all, human dignity exists.
The main enemy of the Soviet Union, and now its successor Russia, is freedom, particularly religious freedom. We will explore this more in the next chapter. The map of Ukrainian Protestantism is very diverse. It includes Lutherans, Calvinist, Baptist, Anabaptist, Adventist, Evangelicals, Methodists, Presbyterians, Reformers, Pentecostals, Charismatics, and many others. With the restoration of Ukrainian independence after the collapse of the USSR, especially in the east and south of Ukraine, there was a boom in the development of evangelical communities. New prayer houses and new universities were being established, including with the support of American evangelical churches. These are the very territories that are now under occupation. So, what happened to these communities when Russian occupying forces entered those areas? To answer this, we went to the Irpin Bible Church to talk with Mikhailo Britsin. He is an expert on religious freedom and a pastor at the Grace Church in Melitopol, a city that has been occupied by the Russians since February 2022. His church was taken by Russian soldiers. They cut the cross down and transformed it into the Ministry of Culture. Mikhailo was detained and interrogated by the Russians for his religious leadership role. One of the things that brought me to you and has enabled me to tell this story is the work that you've done. Faith Under Fire is the seminal report that you did shortly after the war began and to document this stuff. Tell us, let's start with that. What made you decide to sit down and do that?
Melitopol was occupied in first days of February, and we don't have such damage as Mariupol. But we had fighting and we have occupants on our streets. Then 6 months we continue our ministry in occupied city. Then we were kind of slightly deported from there. And after that, I met a lot of people who have the same stories. And so we collect all
people from Melitopol or people from all over occupied
from
Ukraine?
all occupied territory, and we still have connection with occupied territory, so we know their story today, and we try to collect not like stories but kind of analytical documents in order to see trends and to see the action, the plans Russia had for Ukraine, for that territory. And actually we realized that there was no plan at all, because they didn't know what to do with churches. Because in first weeks, first months, they just ignore Protestant churches, because they believe that the church is Orthodox. And all Protestants, it's just sects, it's not churches. Yeah. Then they realized that Protestant churches are pretty active and powerful, and they play a big role in Ukrainian society. We serve as a humanitarian hubs. We help a lot of people. We organized a common prayer in the city square. We help to everybody. We help to people to evacuate. We help people with food, with clothes, with medicine, with all our resources, just to counsel people. So, and Russian soldiers and their FSB agents, they try to to ignore, then try to buy us or try to blackmail us, to lure us on their side in order we as pastors became their rupors. But
So Russian soldiers. So people were bribed. People were blackmailed. What kind of blackmail would they use?
They can use your business. If you want to continue your business, you need to teach your church that Russia is good. Or they blackmail by family members. One pastor's son was arrested, and Russia, it's a true story. Somebody can tell her it. FSB guys, they blackmail that pastor. He was a regional pastor, in order him to give order to all churches of his denomination to accept Russian and just to praise Russians.
Wow.
For freedom they brought us, so-called freedom.
So they put his son in jail.
Yes.
So they would praise him for the freedom.
Yes. Institute of
classic.
Religious Freedom. They recorded this interview, so you can freely listen how it happened.
Wow.
There. And these trends became so obvious, not in Melitopol, our city, but in different cities. So we decided to make kind of analytical report. It's kind of review of all of that. It's kind of
I've read it several times. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's statistic and how it goes. Ignoring and then just luring and then blackmail and then rejected. Just close all churches.
Wow.
By summer 2023, all churches were closed, except Moscow Orthodox. So this summer became time when we were under scope of these FSB guys, because they checked our rooms and they actually search everything here. They make photos. They have a lot of questions, cruel questions. And
what's a cruel question?
Where is your children? They left Melitopol. Why didn't you leave? So it was forced. What are you doing here? I'm a pastor. Oh, you're just... I don't know how to translate all these things in English, but it was, we are going to take you to Donbass, to prison, in order Donbass people show you what does it mean to be Christian. So it's kind of question, all questions. Where you get money, people can say, don't lie me. Where you get humanitarian help, our friends from Zaporizhia gave us, don't lie me. So everything was just an emotional thing. And I was wrong from the bottom, from top to the bottom.
Really? You didn't give them the answer they wanted?
Yeah. They found a book, actually Christian book, Samuel Schultz, Old Testament Speaks. And it was edited in Germany. Why it's in Germany? It was 1992 when I brought it, where in Soviet Union you can print book about Old Testament.
Yeah.
So it was silly question. Yeah. What is in your computer here? Here is use. Oh, you're blackmailing use in order to take money from the. So it's all this kind of stuff, and very cruel and very unlogic, because if you want to close this church, just close it, and nobody is going to do something against you.
Yeah.
Fully armed people with masks.
Yeah.
Who is more afraid in that situation, we or them?
Yeah.
Why attacked church with these helmets?
I saw the video.
It's already 6 months of occupation. You know everything. You've been here 10 times.
It was a big dude on stage. He was wearing, a helmet, body armor. He had a gun.
Are you going to fight with women, with old lady, and with 5 men there? So it's so stupid. And it's not first church. You already know what does church, Protestant church mean. So it's... Yeah, it's pathetic what the danger they saw in this church.
What do you think the danger they saw?
I don't know. I think it's just gossips. I think it's kind of their, I think it's a result of their propaganda, because they were taught that all Ukrainians are so cruel, they'd like to force, it's Putin's words that Ukraine is going to conquer Russia. Because of that, we started this aggression. So I think it's a result of propaganda, and it's the silliness, the pathetic things that they showed during this occupation. It's peaceful people. It's our city.
Yeah.
We liberate you from what?
Yeah.
From electricity, from connection, from normal life.
Liberate you from the internet, yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it's silly things.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
What are you going to do here?
Well, one of the excuses that Putin has used, justifications for entering Ukraine, is because he wants to liberate the Russian-speaking areas of Ukraine. Melitopol is a Russian-speaking area, right?
Yes, yes.
And you're telling me you didn't want to be liberated, and two, you know, the places that are damaged, it's not the Ukrainian-speaking parts of Ukraine that are damaged, right? It's the Russian-speaking parts of Ukraine that are destroyed.
Liberated from what?
Yeah, yeah.
From Ukrainian authority. What bad Ukrainian authority did for Melitopol? You can look at Melitopol. You can see Melitopol, visit Melitopol before the war, and to see its prosper place, prosper city, and the unity of all people in Melitopol and their Ukrainian spies. It was obvious just after occupation, because a lot of meetings against Russia was organized in Melitopol. Mm-hmm. I was amazed how many people don't like Russia to be here. Thousands of people, and it's not in Ukraine. It's under Russian occupation. It's under vehicles, it's armored people, and their people were killed on these rallies, but they were against Russia.
Yeah.
Nobody met Russians with a flower. And so from what they so-called set us free or liberated us. From what? From normal life. This is the only answer.
Yeah, yeah.
I still remember Soviet time. I know what propaganda means and how to show that all the West is bad and how good we live and how much Stalin did for people. So I know all this logo and motto. So, and I know that today propaganda is even more dangerous weapon.
Tell me more about that.
For instance, their church should say to Russian Christian not to kill, not to lie, not to take, not to steal, not to desire what is in your neighbor, because it's basic Christianity things. Why didn't say it? Because propaganda say that church is for old people. It's not for young people. It's not for people at all. So, and this mixture of government, like a state, and so-called church became very dangerous, very contagious for people, because it's just twisted Christianity to something bad, let's say this thing. And propaganda took these things and tried to feed people very, very intellectually, very cruel, very strong, very consequently, and eventually we have this product. People who came to Ukraine to free them from something, they look at the most peaceful, apolitical people as an enemy, because those people, they're just people. They just objective. They just know what does it mean to be free, and they have kind of beliefs which they called Christian beliefs. And two Christians meet in one place, and Russian Christians killed Ukrainian Christians. And it happened, you know. Thank God nobody was killed in my church that day, but I know, and there are some stories, people were killed just because they were Christian. It wasn't just killing because of misleading or something unpredictable. No, it was purposely killed ministers, Orthodox priests, or Protestant pastors with a son. And it started in 2014. It wasn't yesterday, it wasn't 2022. 2014, 4 ministers from Slavyansk were killed. So it's cruel history. Russia tried to take territory. I don't know why. They have enough territory, but they tried to take those people. They tried to force them with their method there, and it's not good method. 30 years of freedom in Ukraine, it's behaved new generation of people, and they met Russian with such eyes. What are you doing, guys, here? And even now, during the 3rd year of occupation, churches try to survive somehow. Home groups or some places where allowed to have meetings, and now Russia started new trends, so-called registration churches in occupied territory. And as I analyze all these situations, and I know some people, I know some connections, and I check Russian register of registered churches, I saw Soviet Union. One church, one Protestant church per city, all denomination all together, in somewhere place, and they don't allow it for pastor who used to be a pastor there, just new people, somebody who would like to link under there. So it's completely Soviet Union method. The KGB method works now there in occupied territory. You don't allow it to pray in Ukrainian, you don't allow it to pray for Ukraine, you don't allow it to pray for those who left to Ukraine.
Wow.
So you shouldn't pray, you don't allow it to pray for that man. Is it Christianity? Is the faith? It's FSB rules. Yeah, and you shouldn't sing song in Ukrainians.
Well, you grew up in the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union ended when you were a young man. But tell me, you lived through the Soviet Union as a Christian. You lived through occupied Ukraine as a Christian. Which is worse?
Occupied. You see, they came to us so cruel, so jealous, and the technology is pretty advanced, so they can hear everything, they can know everything, they can check and we are used to say everything freely. Yeah, in Soviet Union, generations and generations of Christians live in fear, in limitation. For instance, my grandfather spent 9 years in prison during Stalin's regime. They have home group of Bible study, and he was the host of this group. My wife's grandfather spent 16 years in prison. He was a pastor in different area. And we grew up on this story. Be careful, not say aloud. Your faith is for you. So, and we used to this situation. But after 30 years of freedom in Ukraine and church like that with all activities outside, and now Russian came, don't do anything.
Yeah.
This is kind of challenge.
Yeah. The myth that Ukraine persecutes Christians is one of the most persistent and effective tools in the Russian propaganda playbook. It manipulates people's beliefs, stirs emotions, and takes advantage of how distant and unfamiliar Ukraine is to many. This myth has gained particular traction in the United States, a country with a large Christian population that has been specifically targeted with anti-Ukraine narratives. The goal is simple: to stop military aid to Ukraine. But reality tells a different story. Ukrainian men and women of different Christian denominations and other faiths have stood up against a much bigger enemy. They're fighting to protect their families, their liberty, and the future of their country against a dictatorship backed by Iran, North Korea, and China, regimes where freedom, including religious freedom, is the exception, not the norm.
Героям української нації! Тричі! Слава! 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 Пам'ятаємо! Бог стережись!
Those defenders can return in two ways, as they said in ancient Rome, and as they say in Ukraine today: with their shields or on their shields. And if it happens that they return on their shields, the entire community bows its head before them. A priest leads the service, and above their graves, the flag of Ukraine flies. So when it comes to the question of who is really persecuting Christians in Ukraine, the answer is clear. It's those who send drones and missiles over Ukrainian cities and towns night after night. Those who march in military uniforms onto the land of a sovereign nation, not in the name of God or freedom, but to destroy them both.